Winter is almost upon us, so I have put together a list of over 30 books from 7 different genres to help you plan what to read this cozy season. Delicious. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Carly, and today I'm going to be talking to you all about books I think are perfect for you to read this cozy season. So I'll be talking to you about books that have a winter setting, an isolated setting, books that also give isolated vibes, not necessarily with isolated settings, and some books that just fit the genre that I've read and loved. There's also a few miscellaneous recommendations that I couldn't fit into the genres that I'll be talking about, and also a few that I have on my TBR that I thought would be perfect for this video. So I've just sprinkled them all in for you. So genres, we have got thriller, horror, gothic, historical fiction, fantasy, vampire, witchy, all my favourite genres, to be honest. So I'm hoping that there will be something for everybody in this video. And I really hope that it will be useful to anybody currently planning their winter TBR. So very similar to what I did for my autumn reading guide, I have picked 4 books from each genre, but there's also some mentions of other books that I've enjoyed and obviously like the little miscellaneous section as well. So yeah, we've got over 30 books to go through. And to be honest, I think I'm just going to leave the intro there because I feel like this video is going to be a long one. We're going to start off with the thriller books, but what I want to say before I start talking about these thriller books is a couple of days ago I actually uploaded a winter thriller video. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about these because obviously they're going to cross over, but I didn't want to leave the thrillers out of this ultimate winter reading guide video either. So if thrillers are your thing and you want more winter thriller recommendations, then I will leave the link for that video in the video description. Starting off with No Exit by Taylor Adams. This book is available on Kindle Unlimited. It is under 300 pages and it is short, snappy, fast-paced and full of danger. I mean, what more could you want from a winter thriller book? It follows the story of a college student called Darby who ends up stranded at a highway rest stop because of a snowstorm. Darby was actually on her way to visit her very sick mother, but yeah, she finds herself stranded at this rest stop along with 4 other strangers who are in the same situation she's in. Desperate for an update on her mother's situation, Darby goes outside to try and find some phone reception to call her sister. And while she's outside, she finds a girl locked inside one of the parked cars and she's being held captive. Now, Darby is faced with this impossible situation. She's stuck in the middle of nowhere. She's got no phone reception and she knows that one of the strangers inside the rest stop is responsible for kidnapping this girl. Like, what would you do? My anxiety levels were through the roof when I read this book. Like, it stressed me right out, but in a good way, because that's exactly what I want for my thriller books. Like, the danger stakes in this book were through the roof. Like, they were astronomical. It literally says at the bottom of the blurb there, full of shocking twists and turns, this beautifully written novel will have you on the edge of your seat. And I couldn't agree more. Next up, we have got one of my faves, Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. And this is another one that's available on Kindle Unlimited. This follows the story of a married couple called Adam and Amelia who go to a remote Scottish location for a romantic weekend away. However, this weekend away turns out to be far from romantic. Again, they are stuck in the middle of a snowstorm. They lose power in the place that they are staying. Adam and Amelia, in classic Alice Feeney toxic relationship style, are lying to each other. You don't know which one to believe. And the twist in this book got me so good that I had to go back and reread the previous few chapters because I honestly thought I was losing my mind and I had read the whole thing wrong. So yeah, one of my absolute faves and perfect if you like a domestic, toxic thriller book with a winter setting. Next up, we have got Night Watching by Tracy Sierra. I don't think this one is available on Kindle Unlimited, but it is another one that stressed me out so much while I was reading it. So this is your ultimate home invasion type thriller. And I'm actually going to cheat and read you a tiny bit of the blurb because I always say when I'm talking about this book, the blurb can do a much better job than I can. Like when I read this blurb, this book went straight in my basket and it didn't disappoint. Home alone with her young children during a blizzard, a mother tucks her son back into bed in the middle of the night. Then she hears a noise. Old houses are always making some kind of noise, but this sound is disturbingly familiar. It's the tread of footsteps, unusually heavy and slow, coming up the stairs. In that split second, she has three choices. Should she hide, should she run, or should she fight? And honestly, just reading that blurb, I am covered in goosebumps. Like, this book kicks off from the very first page. From page 1, you are thrown straight into the drama. And oh my God, I ate it up. I don't see many people talking about this book and I really enjoyed it. Last but not least for the thriller books, we have got The Overnight Guest by Heather Gudenkauf. This is another one that's available on Kindle Unlimited and another one that gave the ultimate isolated, snowed in, claustrophobic vibes. This book follows the story of a true crime writer called Wiley who has taken herself off to this isolated farmhouse for some peace and quiet so that she can write. Set in the scene, she's got a cozy fireplace, it's snowing outside, ultimate writing vibes. Until, I can't actually remember why, but she goes outside and she finds a child in the snow, and this child is not in the best condition, let's just say that. She's very confused by the whole situation. She takes the child in, tries to find out what's happened to them. The child's not saying a word. And that is where the mystery begins. It made me feel so claustrophobic while I was reading it. And again, it gave me the worst anxiety. I do feel like winter settings, like snowstorm settings, give the ultimate claustrophobic vibes, don't they? Because when you are isolated by the weather, it is out of your control. Like, where are you going to go? Right, well, on to the horror books next. And I've got 4 recommendations, but 2 of them are TBR. So 2 of them I've read. 2 of them are ones I'm really excited about that I've got on my TBR, because I personally haven't actually read that many winter horror books. So starting off with a TBR, Dark Matter by Michelle Paver. Spoiler alert for my TBR video that will probably go up at the end of this month. This is definitely going to be on there because, oh my God, I have heard nothing but good things about this book. And it has like an isolated Arctic setting. I think it's about like an Arctic expedition, is it? Oh, it's set in 1937 as well. We all know I love a historical setting. London 1937, Jack is poor, lonely and desperate to change his life. So when he's offered the chance to join an Arctic expedition, he jumps at it. And then I think, like, one by one, the members of this expedition start disappearing. Jack ends up isolated on his own, but he's not actually on his own because there's something out there lurking in the snow. I have heard that this book is absolutely terrifying. What more could you want than to terrify yourself during winter? Do you know what I mean? Right, next up we have got one I have read, We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kliewer, and oh my God, I absolutely love this book. It follows the story of Charlie and Eve who move into their dream house, and one afternoon they get a knock on the door, and stood at the door is this man. He's with his family and he says, "We used to live here. Is there any way I could show my family around?" Now, I'm not being funny, but if that was me, we wouldn't have a book, because straight away I would have been like, "No, sorry, hun, you're not coming into my house." But obviously they don't do that because we have got a book. They let the family inside, and let's just say they wish they hadn't. I do feel like it is a massive opinion divider in the book community. People seem to either love it or hate it. I absolutely loved it. Like, this book genuinely terrified me. No spoilers at all, but there's a scene in it in the attic with a torch. Oh my God, I honestly thought I was going to pass out with fear. Like, the way it was written, it really got under my skin. And the reason I've chosen it for this video is because there is a storm. There's a storm a-brewing. I can't actually remember if it's a snowstorm or not, but again, no spoilers at all. But I do think it is perfect to add to your winter TBR if you love a horror book. Next up, we have got another one that's on my TBR, The Shuddering by Ania Ahlborn. So this is the same author that wrote Brother, which is a very, very popular book about a family of cannibals. I personally wasn't all that fussed on that book, but I have heard incredible things about this one. I actually think this is like a creature feature. Is it a creature feature book? They only come when it snows and nobody ever gets away. It says there as well, they'll end up like the monsters, other victims, bright pools of blood on glittering snow, screams lost in the vast mountains. It's got blood and it's got snow, so it's giving major winter horror vibes, and I am very excited to read it. And last but not least for horror, we have got The Watchers by A.M. Shine. Now, this doesn't have a winter setting per se, but it has a very isolated setting, which is the reason I've chosen it for this video. So it is about this forest, and anytime anybody tries to drive near the forest, the electrics in the car cut out and they're left stranded. So this is exactly what happens to our main character called Mina. She is left stranded and her only way out is to go through the forest. As Mina is walking through the forest, she notices this woman who is screaming at her. This woman is stood at the door of a bunker, screaming at her, telling her to run for her life, like, get inside this bunker now. Mina legs it, she gets to the bunker, and to be honest, that is where her nightmare begins. It has actually been made into a film. I thought the book was better than the film personally, but you can see there, like, this bunker has a glass wall, and come nighttime, everybody in the bunker must just stand there so that the watchers can see exactly where they are. Honestly, this book gave me the absolute creeps. If you like folklore and isolated settings and claustrophobic vibes, I highly recommend this one. Right, we are on to historical fiction next, starting with Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. So this is a historical fiction. It is kind of like a witchy book set in 19th century Iceland. It follows the story of a woman who has been sentenced to death for murdering her lover. Instead of going to prison, she ends up being taken in by this family who don't really want her there, but they haven't got a choice. And she's forced to stay there until her sentence is carried out. Then you have got a priest that is trying to get her off this death sentence. And it's all about like the day-to-day life of the family, and they start getting to know this woman that's been sentenced to death. It's got like this isolated winter setting. It is set in Iceland, obviously, like I said. And yeah, you've just got this massive race against time because her execution date is looming. This is one actually I don't think I have ever seen anybody else talk about, and I really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the writing style. I loved the setting, the Icelandic setting. I loved the subtle witchy vibes in this book as well, and I highly recommend if you enjoy historical fiction. Next up, we have got one with a very isolated winter setting, The Great Alone by Kristin Hanna. Now, this is set in Alaska. I feel like Alaska is about as harsh as these winter settings come, you know? So this is historical fiction. It's a little bit more modern. It's set in 1974. And it follows the story of a family that end up moving to Alaska. So you've got the father in the family who is massively struggling with his mental health. He has just returned from Vietnam, so his mental state is very fragile. What I will say is definitely check trigger warnings before you go into this book, because some of it is quite dark, and I didn't expect it to be as dark as it was, you know? So yeah, this family moved to Alaska. His wife, Cora, will literally do anything to keep the peace. And his daughter, Lenny, is kind of coming of age. And it's a lot about like Lenny's story and how she hopes that this move to Alaska will bring her and her family the fresh start that they need. I actually did this book on audio, and I highly recommend the audio if this book is on your radar, because the narrator was absolutely outstanding. Oh my God, there's just so much in this book. It is like a journey, like an epic journey. And I just absolutely loved it. Right, next up we have got The Tower by Flora Carr. And again, I don't think this specifically has a winter setting, but it definitely has an isolated setting, which is why I've chosen it for this video. So this is a fairly short book. It is under 300 pages, and it is a feminist retelling of the time Mary, Queen of Scots, spent in the Tower in the time leading up to her execution. One thing about me is I absolutely love the Tudor era. I am obsessed. Like, I am a complete Tudor nerd. Like, it gives the ultimate claustrophobic vibes. It is all set inside a room in this tower, and it's all about Mary and her maids. This is actually another one that I did on audio, and another one that I would highly recommend on audio because the narrator was phenomenal. It's got the isolated Scottish setting, it's got the isolated tower setting. Honestly, I bloody loved it. Like, I had the best time while I was reading this book. The storytelling in it was absolutely beautiful. Like, it was so beautifully written. And the way Flora Carr built up the claustrophobia and the tension within this book was so well done. And yeah, I highly recommend. And last but not least, for the historical fiction recommendations, we have got A Fire in Their Hearts by Philip Paris. So this has an isolated Scottish setting, and also some of the scenes in the book have a really harsh winter setting as well. So that's the reason I picked this one for this video. Now, this book follows the story of the Covenanters, who were a political / religious group of people that were targeted by this man called George Mackenzie, also known as Bloody Mackenzie. A lot of these Covenanters were imprisoned in the most horrendous conditions. Like, the conditions were so bad that most of them actually perished while they were imprisoned. And the ones that didn't actually perish were either executed or were sent away to be used as slaves, effectively. And this book follows the story of a small group of the Covenanters, and it is all about their fight for survival. I don't want to say too much more about the plot because I don't want to spoil it, but this book was absolutely phenomenal. Like, I went into it blind. I didn't know anything about the Covenanters. It's another one I highly recommend the audio for as well. Narrator was absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, God, this book just made me feel all the emotions while I was reading it. It is an absolute hidden gem. It's another one I don't see anybody talking about, and I cannot recommend it enough. Like, I bloody love this book. Right, next up we are on to the Gothic recommendations. And I do feel like I've spoken about this book quite a lot on my channel, but when it fits the video theme, I can't leave it out. So apologies if you have seen this book 27,000 times on my channel previously. The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. For those of you that have been here a while, you will know that this is one of my favourite books. If you are new to my channel, then I am going to tell you why it is one of my favourite books. So it follows the story of Elsie, who goes to stay at her late husband's crumbling estate called The Bridge. Now, the staff are a bit hostile towards Elsie, and even the locals as well. She's not having the best time, to be honest. And with not a lot else to do, Elsie starts going wandering and investigating her surroundings. During her investigation, she stumbles across this locked door, and behind this locked door, she finds a 200-year-old diary full of mystery and secrets, which I absolutely love. And she also finds these wooden figures called the Silent Companions, which, quite frankly, are the most terrifying things I have ever seen. Now, I didn't know before reading this book that these Silent Companions were actually a real thing. Like, people used to have them in their house as decoration. It's a firm no from me. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to put an overlay on the screen of what these companions look like. They are terrifying. They are literally like life-size wooden cutouts that look like real people. Anyway, the one that Elsie finds behind this locked door looks exactly like her. Like, how terrifying is that? The whole story is all about like the mysteries hidden within this diary. You've got like a multiple timeline. So this is historical anyway. I think this is set in like the 18th century. I can't remember. And then it also throws back to earlier again, which is where the diary comes in. Elsie also thinks that these wooden figures are coming to life at night and are haunting her. Honestly, the vibes in this book are ultimate gothic, creepy and terrifying. I just don't think I'm ever going to stop recommending this book because I loved it so much. Right, next up, I've gone a little bit rogue with this recommendation because we've got a gothic fantasy, One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Now, this is another one that's available on Kindle Unlimited, and the reason I've chosen this is because the gothic, isolated, dark vibes are immaculate in this book, I've got to be honest. Like, in this book, we have got like this descending mist that is so thick you can't see your hand in front of you. Oh, I just loved it. So in this, we've got an Elspeth. We had an Elsie in the Silent Companions. We have got Elspeth in this one. And it is all about Elspeth and how she kind of has this ancient spirit. I don't really know how to describe him. Kind of like an ancient spirit trapped inside her mind that she calls the nightmare. I absolutely loved the nightmare, by the way. I loved, like, you get like the POV of the nightmare, and I absolutely loved it. You've got this like really unique magic system in this book that is centered around Providence cards. I am going to find it really hard to talk about this book because it is so unique. So these Providence cards, they all do different magical things, and the ultimate goal is to find all of the Providence cards. I think there's 12 Providence cards, I think, so that you have a full deck and the ultimate power, basically. And it is all about like the battle between Elspeth and the nightmare. He's trying to take over her mind and take over her completely. She's trying to fight him off. It's called Blunder, the town of Blunder. And there's like laws against black magic and how it's infecting all the people. Honestly, the vibes are, they are so delicious in this book. Absolutely loved it. And if gothic fantasy is your thing, you absolutely need to read this book. Right, next up we have got an absolute classic, a classic for a reason, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Now, the reason I have chosen this is because this has a very harsh winter setting. And is it in the Yorkshire Moors? I feel like it's on the Yorkshire Moors. I actually read this book probably like 21 years ago. I'm showing my age now, I know. It follows the story of Jane Eyre, who goes to stay at this manor house to become a governess, where she meets and falls in love with Mr. Rochester. But Mr. Rochester isn't as delightful as he seems, and he is hiding some very dark secrets. Oh yeah, it does say there, against the magnificent backdrop of the Yorkshire Moors. I wasn't making it up. And to be honest, I don't want to say too much more about this in case you haven't read it. Like, I know it is a classic, and I know loads of people have read it and loved it and they know all about it. But if you haven't read it, I don't want to spoil it because, oh my God, this book is incredible. Like, for a book I read so long ago, I think about it so much. It is all about love and tragedy and loss and madness. There's a little bit of like haunting vibes in it as well. And for me, like, if you're gonna dip your toe into classics, I highly recommend this one. I'm going to recommend another one in this video as well, but for now, we'll stick with this one. And next up for my Gothic recommendations, we have got The Whistling by Rebecca Netley, and this is another one of my absolute favourite books. It's another one with an isolated Scottish setting, which is the reason I have chosen it for this video. And it follows the story of Elspeth. We've got another Elspeth. I thought it was as well. I thought I was losing my mind. So Elspeth arrives at this isolated Scottish island to become a nanny to a young girl called Mary. However, Mary is mute, and Elspeth is hoping that she can bond with Mary to find out what happened to make her stop speaking. This book actually gives very similar vibes to The Silent Companions without the Silent Companions, because you have got this kind of like creepy setting, and during the nighttime Elspeth can hear this whistling sound, this strange whistling sound. There's rumours amongst the locals about like what happened to the previous nanny, and it's all just very creepy and mysterious. And I actually feel like this is another one that is so underrated. It just gives the perfect chilling Gothic vibes. So if those vibes are your thing, you definitely need to pick this one up. But I'm actually going to give you 5 for the price of 4 in my Gothic section as well, because I couldn't narrow it down to just 4. And I've got another classic for you, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Now, the reason I have picked this one is because it does have a wintry, Arctic, isolated setting. And I just feel like the whole story itself is very isolated. Do you know what I mean? It's all about like Frankenstein's monster and how alone he feels in the world. So I do feel like it is perfect for this time of year. Every time I talk about this book as well, it absolutely blows my mind to think it was written over 200 years ago. Like, how wild is that? Written by a woman over 200 years ago, and it has stood the test of time. Like, this book is phenomenal. It's another one actually that I read over 20 years ago. God, I feel so old. Where on earth has the time gone? But it's another one that I still think about to this day. I do feel like this is very well known. I don't think I'm going to say too much about it, but it's basically about a scientist called Victor Frankenstein who has very unusual tastes and ambitions, and he decides to build himself his own human/monster from body parts. And yeah, the monster comes to life, and it's all about what happens in the aftermath of that. All about like the dark side of the human mind and this monster and how he feels out in the big wide world, you know? So yeah, again, if you're looking to dip your toe into classics, I just love this book so much. Right, next up we have got my witchy recommendations, starting with The King's Witches by Kate Foster. So again, I don't know if this has a specific winter setting, but I wanted to do a witchy section. And the reason I picked this one is because it is about Princess Anna of Denmark and her marriage to King James of Scotland. It's set in 16th century Edinburgh, but the whole Denmark vibe just made me think winter. I may just be clutching at straws here, but it's one of my favourite books and I couldn't leave it after this video. So you've kind of got like this dual timeline. One of them is about Princess Anna of Denmark and her trial period marriage to King James of Scotland, which again, I didn't even know this was a thing, but back in those days, the king could like trial marry like whoever they chose to marry, and if they decided that actually they didn't want to marry them, they could just sack them off. Honestly, like, people in that period were absolutely wild. You've got like Anna's storyline, and then you've also got another storyline, I can't remember her name. It's about a young housemaid called Jura, and she finds herself in a really dangerous situation amongst all of the witchcraft accusations. She's seeking refuge, and yeah, you get like her story as well. I thoroughly enjoyed myself while I was reading it. This book was a solid 4-star read all the way through. And towards the end of the book, it just catapulted itself to a 5-star. I absolutely bloody loved the direction that this book went. And it's a book that I think about often, like how good it was, how underrated it is. Again, like when I see people talking about witchy books, I never see anybody talking about this book. It is so good. And if you love a witchy book, then you need to pick this one up. Right, next up we have got a teeny tiny witchy novella book. I don't know if I've spoken about this book on my channel before, you know. I don't think I have. Hex by Jenny Fagan. So the reason I've chosen this one is because it is actually set around December, and it is under 100 pages, I think. It's 101 pages. It is based on the true story of Galis Duncan, who found herself on trial for witchcraft, and it is all about her the night before her execution. So she's in her cell and she's visited by somebody from the future, I think. I wanted to check that what I was saying wasn't a spoiler, but it's all in the blurbs. On this last night of her life in a prison cell several floors below Edinburgh's High Street, convicted witch Galis Duncan receives a mysterious visitor, Iris, who says she comes from the future where women are still persecuted for who they are and what they believe. And yeah, I'm not going to go into too much detail. It's literally like a 100-page book. But it is just a whole conversation between Galis and Iris. And oh God, it is an absolutely stunning and heartbreaking book. It was so impactful for such a short book. And yeah, another one that I highly recommend if you love a witchy book. Right, my next witchy recommendation is Slewfoot by Brom. Now this one it's quite folklore-y actually, and I tell you what I love about the physical copy of this book. You have actually got illustrations of the characters, which are done by the author himself. Like, how phenomenal are those illustrations? So this book follows the story of Abatha. She is recently widowed and she decides to team up with a forest demon in order to survive a world that is determined to destroy her. I absolutely loved Abatha's character. And oh God, I'm itching to talk more about it, but I don't want to give spoilers. All I will say is just go into it as blind as possible and prepare to have an absolutely fantastic time. And my last witchy book recommendation for this video is The Last Witch by C.J. Cook. Again, I'm not sure on the winter vibes of this, but it is set in Austria. So we're going with it. So this book is actually based on the true story of a woman called Helena Shuddering, who was the most phenomenal and courageous woman who found herself on trial for murder and witchcraft and ended up standing up to one of the most notorious men in history. His name was Heinrich Kramer, and he was actually the one that wrote Malleus Maleficarum, which ended up being like this handbook which played a huge part in the witch trials in the coming centuries. So this book he wrote was essentially a guide to how to catch a witch, and it was a guide to how to torture them and how to execute them. This man was, I mean, I want to say other things, but I'm just going to go with not very nice. He definitely had some issues, and yeah, it's all about Helena's trial. She's also on trial with 6 other women, so it's about their stories as well. And again, oh God, I am like itching to talk so in depth about this book. Like, I will never shut up about this book. It is so good and I loved it so much. It is graphic, it is brutal, it is haunting. It is beautifully written. Oh, it is just absolutely incredible. Right, we're on to the vampire recommendations now, starting with So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. Now, this does actually have a winter setting, and this is more of like a modern day vampire book. So this follows the story of Sloane, who ends up on a weekend away with her best friend. Sloane and her best friend Naomi are polar opposites, and when Naomi turns up, she wants to spice things up a little bit. And long story short, they end up at this house party with a load of strangers. And let's just say things take a bit of a turn. I just love Rachel Harrison, to be honest. I love the way she writes female characters and girlhood. This book was classic Rachel Harrison, but with vampires. So yeah, I highly recommend this one if you want something a little bit more contemporary, because a lot of vampire books I have read are more historical, which I do love as well. But yeah, this one is more modern. Next up, we have got one of my absolute faves, Hungerstone by Kat Dunn. Now, this book is actually a sapphic reworking of the book Carmilla, which is the book that actually inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula. So in this book, we follow Lenore. Lenore has been married for 10 years. The marriage has gone sour. She's not all that fussed on her husband. And to cut a very long story short, they end up going on a trip to the Lake District, is it? Or the Peak District? The Peak District, sorry. Whilst they are on their travels, they end up in a carriage accident. And it is this carriage accident that brings Carmilla into Lenore's life. Now, Carmilla is everything Lenore has been told not to be. So Carmilla is daring and she is bold, and she almost starts seducing Lenore and starts showing her the life that she could have if she let loose a little bit. Oh, this book is absolutely dripping with forbidden desire and all the dark, delicious things that I absolutely love in my vampire books. So yeah, I don't really have much more to say about it. I just bloody loved it. Next up, we have got The Gathering by C.J. Tudor. And full disclaimer, I think I only gave this book 2.5 stars. I do think, in hindsight, I was maybe being a little bit harsh, but I've picked it for this video because it is a vampire book set in Alaska. So it has got the ultimate winter setting. And I feel like I would be doing you guys a disservice by not telling you about it, even though it wasn't one of my favourites. Do you know what I mean? I think it is kind of like a mixture between horror and thriller. And it is all about a dead body that is found mutilated. It's very graphic and gory, which I absolutely love. And the people who live in this town in Alaska aren't sure if a serial killer is responsible or a vampire. So it's kind of like the battle between human and vampire. And you've got the two sides as well, which they kind of like butt heads, because both sides is like, oh, well, it's not human responsible for this, it's a blood-sucking monster. And then the vampires are like, whoa, don't blame us, it's not us, it's you lot. Don't necessarily take my opinions for this book. Definitely check it out for yourself, because yeah, it's perfect for this time of year if you love a vampire book. And my last vampire recommendation for this video, of course you knew it was coming, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I mean, how can I ever talk about vampire books and not talk about this book? So we've got 3 separate characters, 3 separate locations and 3 separate storylines. So you have got a 16th century storyline about Maria, which is set in Spain. Then you have got a 19th century storyline about Charlotte, I forget their names, they're set in London. And then you have got a 2019 storyline about Alice, the set in Boston. It is about all these 3 different characters, all their different storylines. All of them are feral. It actually says there on the back, bury my bones in the midnight soil, plant them shallow and water them deep, and in my place will grow a feral rose, soft red petals hiding sharp white teeth. That's all you need to know. It's about feral females, toxic lesbian vampires, again, forbidden desire. I literally cannot even put into words how much I love this book. And if you have similar taste to me, then just trust me on this, because it's bloody phenomenal. So we're on to the fantasy recommendations now, and then I have like a few miscellaneous to add on at the end, and just basically throw in all the book recommendations at you today. So starting with A Fate Inked in Blood by Daniel L. Jensen. This is a Viking romantasy, and it is all about a shield maiden called Freya, who has been blessed by the gods, like she's gifted, and this power-hungry king who wants to take ownership of Freya for his own benefits. Yeah, so it says, to survive, Freya must reveal her deepest secret. She possesses a drop of a goddess's blood and magic that will unite their nation beneath the one who controls her fate. Again, you've got like a forbidden attraction element. You've got like a handsome Viking. Of course you have. Freya is one of my favourite female characters. She is so fierce. And oh yeah, she's just such a badass. I absolutely loved her. What I will say is I did this one on audio as well, and the narrator for this was incredible. The way she did all the different accents and the different voices, she was really, really good. So if this book is on your radar, then I highly recommend the audio. Right, next up we have got one that, again, I don't think has got a specific winter setting, but it has got a massive isolation element to it. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Now this book is ultimate isolation vibes. It is all about our main character called Addie, who makes a deal with the devil for immortality, and in exchange she gives him her soul. However, the devil tricks Addie, and even though he does give her immortality, he also makes her invisible and forgettable. So what that means is Addie effectively cannot, like, she can't even say her own name. She can't tell her own story. So she spends her lifetime just roaming, I was going to say roaming the streets then, just roaming around the place on her own. Like, her existence is so hopeless and lonely, and anybody she meets and comes into contact with, A, she can't tell them her own name or her story because she can't physically do it, and also they immediately forget her. Honestly, it is so sad. It is actually such a sad book to read. And again, this book is one that massively divides the book community. And do you know what? I will be honest, I can see why some people didn't like it. I rated this book 5 stars. I absolutely loved it, but I can see why some people don't like it. Again, I did this book on audio, and I actually think that is the reason I enjoyed it so much, because I always listen to my audiobooks with noise cancelling headphones. So I was fully immersed in Addie's world. I know like a lot of people have said that it was very repetitive, and I get that. But I think that was the whole point. Like, Addie's life is repetitive, and you just go through Addie's life with her, and you just follow this whole journey. I don't really want to say too much more about it, but all I'm going to say is the ending of this book absolutely blew me away. Like, I loved it so much. And yeah, maybe just go into it open-minded and give it a try. Next up for my fantasy recommendations is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. And again, I don't think this has a winter setting, but it is about like the afterlife. And I don't know, I just feel like this kind of has like isolated vibes because of our main character, who actually gave me Scrooge vibes. You know, like in A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, where Scrooge is visited by the ghost of Christmas past and all the rest of it. It kind of very loosely gave me those vibes. So it is about our main character called Wallace, who dies straight away, like at the beginning of the book. It's not a spoiler, like that is the whole point of the book. And he is taken to this tea room, cafe type place. I think it's called Charon's Cross. Charon's Cross Inn. The tea is hot, the scones are fresh, and the dead are just passing through. So he is taken to this place where he meets Hugo, and Hugo says to him that he is going to show him how to pass over into the afterlife in just 7 days. Now, Wallace hasn't been a very nice person in his lifetime, and as he starts spending time with Hugo and the people in this tea room, he starts doing a bit of soul searching, you know? And honestly, this book, it actually, I finished this book bawling my eyes out. So if you want to make yourself cry in the run up to Christmas or during the Christmas period, I highly recommend this book because it will definitely make you cry. But it also gives like the cozy vibes as well, which I do think is perfect, like for this time of year. You know, like when you're reading with your hot chocolate and a blanket. It literally says there, but as Wallace drinks tea with Hugo and talks to his customers, he wonders if he'd been missing something. The feeling grows as he shares jokes with the resident ghost, manifests embarrassing footwear, and notices the stars. So when he's given 1 week to pass through the door to the other side, Wallace sets about living a lifetime in just 7 days. Oh, I just love it so much. And last but not least for my fantasy recommendations is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, and I think this is one of my favourite books of the year as well. I also don't think it has a winter setting, but it does have a very dark, isolated gothic setting. So I'm running with it for this video. Do you know what? I actually think I am going to really struggle to talk about this book. I've spoken about it a handful of times on my channel, and every time I struggle to explain what it's about because it is so unique and so complex, but I'm going to try my best. So it is about our main character called Sybil, who is also known as Six. Now, Sybil is a diviner. She like lives in this cathedral with 5 other diviners who all go by the names of numbers. And their job is to kind of like foretell the future of people who visit them. So basically, people will visit them and these diviners go into this like dreamlike state where they meet omens, and these omens will tell them about the future of the person they're divining for. So whether they're going to have a good future, whether they're going to have a bad future, it's going to be challenging, all the rest of it. So those are the kind of vibes. I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, to be honest. But it says they're like lords and common folk alike travel across the kingdom to learn their futures by her dreams. So yeah, I mean, it is basically what I've just said. But one night, one of the diviners and one of Sybil's friends goes missing, and one by one, the others start going missing. So there's like a mystery surrounding that. You've got, again, in classic Rachel Gillig style, this very unique magic system. It is like a gothic fairy tale. It is so beautifully written. Again, I do feel like this is a bit of an opinion divider, but I personally really enjoyed it. And yeah, I feel like if you've got a little bit of extra time on your hands over the Christmas period, then maybe give this one a go. Right, now we are just going to finish off with a couple of miscellaneous recommendations. One of them is actually on my priority TBR that I will definitely be reading in January. And the others are just giving like wintry isolation vibes. Starting with Bear Town by Frederick Backman. Now, I actually cannot believe, A, I haven't read this book, and B, I have never read a book by Frederick Backman yet. Like, that's criminal, isn't it? I don't actually know what this book is about, but it says, for most of the year, it is under a thick blanket of snow, experiencing a cold and dark that brings people closer together. I have literally only ever seen, like, the most outstanding reviews for this book. So yeah, I feel like I need to read it, you know. If anybody has read this book, then please let me know if you think I would like it. Like, those of you who have got similar tastes to me, and if you've seen a lot of my other videos, then please let me know what you think. Like, do you think I'd like it? Right, next up we have got one that doesn't really have a winter setting, but it has a very isolated setting. I didn't even know where to put this in this video, to be honest. I've just shoved it on at the end. I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. Now, this is a dystopian book, and honestly, it is one of the bleakest and most heartbreaking, hopeless books I have ever read. When I finished reading this book, I literally sat there staring at the wall for about half an hour because I was like, what have I just read? So it is all about these 40 women who are imprisoned in a cage underground. They have no idea like how long they've been there. They've been there a while. They have no idea like why they're there. It's all a bit strange and mysterious. Like, this kicks off like right at the beginning of the book. And weirdly, one day, like, all these buzzers go off and the doors are unlocked and they are left to their own devices. Like, they leave their cage and start exploring the world outside. But no spoilers at all. What they find outside is, honestly, I don't even know how to describe it. And I'm not going to try and describe it because I don't want to spoil anything. But it is definitely not what I was expecting. Let's just put it that way. It is a very unique book. And like I said, it's very bleak. So definitely don't read this if you're wanting something a little bit like lighthearted and uplifting and something to cheer you up, because this book definitely won't do that. And last but not least for this video is actually a book I am so excited about, and this is on my January TBR because it is actually my January's book club pick, online and in person. The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon? Oh, why can I never pronounce these names? So if anybody is in my online book club, then this is the book we're going to be reading in January. If you aren't in my online book club and you would like to join, I will put the link in the video description. It is all free through Fable, and yeah, we read so many different genres and stuff, and this is the pick for January. It is actually a historical fiction that's based on a true story. And again, I have heard the most incredible reviews for it, like phenomenal. So it is set in Maine in 1789. When the river freezes, entombing a man in the ice, Martha Ballard is summoned to examine the body and determine cause of death. As a midwife and healer, she is privy to much of what goes on behind closed doors. Her diary is a record of every birth and death, crime and debacle that unfolds in the close-knit community. Months earlier, Martha documented the details of an alleged rape committed by two of the town's most respected gentlemen, one of whom has now been found dead in the ice. Martha is forced to investigate the shocking murder on her own. Like, there's loads more to the blurb as well, but honestly, doesn't that sound absolutely incredible? So it's kind of got like historical fiction thriller elements. I love all of those vibes. It's set on a frozen river. So yeah, I thought it was perfect for this video. The hardest thing for me is going to be holding off until January to read this, because I always like to read my book club books as close to book club as possible so that they're fresh in my mind to talk about, you know? So yeah, honestly cannot bloody wait for this book. And yeah, that brings me to the end of my very extensive winter reading guide video. I feel like this has been a long video, to be honest. So if you've stuck with me until this point, you deserve a medal, to be honest. Well done. I really hope you've enjoyed watching, and I hope that you have managed to get some inspiration for your winter reading lists and your winter TBRs. I am still in the middle of planning mine. It's almost finalised, but I am really struggling to narrow down what I want to read this winter. Like, there's so many books I want to read and just so little time. That's the problem we've all got, isn't it? If you did enjoy, please don't forget to hit that little subscribe button below. I would absolutely love it if you decided to stick around. I have got so many fun videos planned for the upcoming weeks. I've got Christmas videos planned, a little Christmas special video planned as well, which I'm really excited to film and post for you all. And yeah, I think I'm going to stop yapping now. Happy reading, and I will catch you all next time.